Don't you use it for hauling clay though?
I think they moved some clay. I don't know. I guess I don't go out there.
There's so much stuff that just sits up there and doesn't get, just kind of rotten away.
We begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any additions or corrections to the minutes of our February 16th meeting? Is there a motion to approve the minutes and today's agenda? Don, thanks. Is there a second? Tim? Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
Motion carries. Anybody have any public comment you want to share?
It's not nicer week than last week.
Sure. We've gotten soft, we can't take that below zero stuff.
Not bad to stay in the house. Franklin. Is this the deal?
Yes.
Same guy? Ryan and Jerry's from-
On the same.
When did this come down?
He dropped it off Thursday, Friday, I think it was. I was out of the office when he dropped it off. And
These people he's suing? See your name's on there, kid.
This was on the 19th. Did Harrison say he'd be coming? Not coming?
He wanted me to put him on the agenda at 9 o'clock rather than with the sheriff.
Okay.
So I just put him on there
Okay.
in case that was per his request. In case he has something, maybe he'll come in at 9.
Does the board want to act on this 2 applications for burial assistance? We'll just call it specimen 1, specimen 2. I think they've been circulated.
Yeah, I don't know, we were just kind of talking, they appear to have assets, so my opinion, it's not that if you don't want to go after the individual assets, not force us to pay them and deduct the assets ourselves and before we reimburse, so
That's on this one.
both of them. Well, I've got some information on this one here and looked up and there's a home and another property in Summit and a vehicle, I think, as well, and probably something they would have told $500,000.
I don't know about the vehicle. He's got a home for that's valued at $23,008. Owns lots 1 through 4, block 39 in Summit, and that's a value of $1,858. And he owns all of block 18 in Summit, and that's valued at $1,775.
So, assets.
And this one felt there was sufficient assets as well. Okay. Is that the feeling of the majority of the board? Those are denied.
Do you make a motion on those? To deny?
If you feel that the new official action will entertain a motion to deny, Donna, is there a second to that? Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
But I think you can put in there, do the assets or something. I'm seeing a bill here for CPR recertification. I thought we had one of our people out there trained. Do we not?
Yeah, I'm just gonna train the rest of them.
That's what I was looking, that's what I thought somebody was gonna do it.
Is this person a county employee?
I can't see.
We'll pass it on.
And then my second question would be, what about our nurse?
Yeah.
We have a nurse.
I thought, I was pretty sure we had someone that went, took the course and was gonna train all the others in that.
Vanessa works at ambulance. She works at the ambulance, or our ambulance.
Yeah, you think before, a person certainly a nurse to be like,
You want to hold it back, or you just want to remember to ask Laura about it?
Let's ask. I mean, if she's not certified to do that, what would it take to do it for future?
If
You got a couple of minutes for some general discussion. I know we talked about doing something with the highway shop out there at some point in time, tearing down the old building, building a new building, part of a new building, whatever. I know we've been kind of wanting to hold off on spending those COVID funds till we found out what's going on with this building and the relamping and everything, but if we don't put some thought into, if we're gonna do something this year, we're not gonna get any way to build it this year, I'm afraid. I don't know if we just need some preliminary conversation to figure out what we wanna do, how much we wanna spend, do we use someone like Holton to do the bid package like we did at the 4-H building, or do you just hire a contractor to build the building, and then you hire a guy to do the cement work, you do a guy to do the plumbing, and the air, electrical, all independent of Holton, or, you know, what the process should be, but I guess, I just,
You're thinking in sections kind of down of starting of what we need to start with or whatever.
I guess originally I thought that, but, and I don't wanna be spending all this money just as we got it, maybe what an opportune time to get it done in one fell swoop with all this extra money. First, we got the first round of that money, and then the surprise second round of that money for a total of 1.4 million. But I think there's just a lot of questions to ask before you even decide what it is you want to do. Like say this, do we really need that tire shop? I mean, if you got Twin Valley Tire right here in town, I don't know how often they're changing tires or whatever, but you know, that's the piece that's gotta be heated right away. I don't know what kind of equipment's in there, is it all antiquated stuff that is, but do we even need that? Is it just as easy that, Pat would have to answer that question, just as easy to take it down to Twin Valley Tire, we get some kind of arrangement with them, that we get kind of a priority for bringing all our business there? Maybe we don't even need that tire department. I don't know, I'm just asking the question. But I just think we need, you know, if we're gonna do something, and we think we wanna do something this year, we have to at least make some preliminary thoughts on what that might look like, but we probably would have difficulty getting any contractors to get involved.
The thought that I had too, Don, I've been thinking about that lately, and first of all, the location of the new building, we had some discussion on that, and then, as I recall, it required a lot of movement of the storage rack for our sanders, and pretty intensive rearranging of our lot, and then I thought, well, Clark Engineering is, you know, is our engineer, why couldn't we have them go out there? Because it got ruled out, well, we have water drainage going through the center of our lot, well, we can't set a building there, well, why couldn't we divert that around the south side of our lot? Is that a possibility, and then have the whole lot usable, and reshape it if we need to, whatever. But personally, I'd like to see Clark Engineering out there give us some elevation
Sure.
descriptions, tell them what we're thinking about, we tear down the old building, we'd like to, we got all this other space without having to disrupt stuff on the west side of our lot. And would it be feasible to put it anyplace else within that area?
Another question that I had too, he talked about all the just dry storage we use in an old building to put old stuff in there in the winter time, something like that. We own those buildings at the 4-H, right, those couple of Quonset. My understanding was they rent a lot of those out. Well, would be better to say, well, maybe we should rent them out anymore, put some of our stuff in there and build a smaller shed, or I'm just throwing out, you know, ideas here that I'm thinking about it, but I just think that some thought needs to be put into what we might want to do. If we want to do it this year at all, I mean, you know, if we want to postpone it for a year, I don't think that's fine too.
I think you guys just start with, like I said, get something figured out, where we're gonna build it, I mean, that'd be the first thing. How big you want it,
You know, our end goal, not piecemeal things. Let's look at the total picture.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we talked about early on, is that because money was really tight, is, you know, build a tire shop and then 2 heated stalls, and then at some point in time farther down the road, have a design that you add 2 more stalls or 3 more stalls, where it was necessary. You know, but, like I say, I don't wanna spend all the money that we just got. I mean, we never get another opportunity to have access to that kind of money to do it in one fell swoop, if that's what we decide we want to do, or not. It's just up for discussion, I guess.
we need it, it's gonna be a nice sort for all traveling visitors that come through. You know, it looked like the highway department was very destitute out there.
Yeah.
So, I wonder if we need a committee of two to research that a little bit.
Well, probably then, you know, it's a lot of input from Pat. But I know it seems, again, when he and G went out there a couple of years ago, probably long now, 3 or 4 years ago, there was a $300,000-$400,000 building, and I thought that was overkill at the time, you know. And, you know, I know that lumber prices have gone up considerably, and, you know, I don't know how that would affect a steel building, if that's,
Steel's going up.
steel's going up too. So, I mean, you maybe, I know some people that were talking about building and said, I'm not gonna build this year a house, you know, and put it off and see what happens. And maybe that's well advised too, I don't know, I just.
Once you figure the size, they'll get some estimates.
Well,
Sure.
First, we're gonna figure out what needs to be built.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, then there's like what lumber, the steel prices, if we don't know how many square feet or what needs to be heated, we need to come up with, say, well, what do we need to build? But I think we need to involve an engineer in that process.
Like Holton's or something like that.
Somebody, yeah.
Well, I mean, the nice thing about that, I mean, I think they gave us a deal on the 4H building that is considerably less cost than it would have been to others, but was that about 10 grand or something like that? It's probably more would doing something like that than building a shed, but yeah, it's nice that he does all the work, specs on the materials and.
Well, even you're talking about drainage, I wouldn't have to really watch it and look at it, just going by and around it.
Right.
You know, whether to do that, whether we build anything or not, we're just, that lot has got water going right through the middle, why are we wasting money and changing the
Let's do
lot?
something, yeah.
If we build or not, because we waste them half a lot, because something's going right through the middle of it. So that wouldn't be wasted, whether we built it or not, that's my say.
Like, food for thought, I guess.
Yeah, I think we need to proceed, start the ball rolling anyway.
How you doing? Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. How's
Morning.
everybody doing this morning?
Good.
I filled out a purchase order late last week. Attached to it is a quote from the assistant courier for 2 4-drawer letter-sized file cabinets. I'm not remembering off the top of my head what the price per unit was, but it was significantly cheaper than the quote I had gotten from Valley Office, by about $100 per cabinet. Like I said before, we're gonna need those cabinets over there. We run out of space in the filing cabinets that we do have, and we currently have files that we're just temporarily storing in boxes so we know where they're at.
The quote here, Dylan, is for 2 letter-sized cabinets?
Yeah, I also
You
have,
don't need the legal, or do you?
no, don't need the legal. Our files are just letter sized.
Okay.
I just had them quote them both to see what the difference was.
Okay. It's 578, so it's on our agenda.
For 2 or for 1?
That'd be for 2 letter size, yeah.
It was 2, must be what, 230 something a piece then?
289? 289?
Okay. Sorry, my math isn't my strong suit.
Yeah.
All right, Don, there's a second by Tim. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries.
Apart from that, I don't think I have anything for you guys this week. Starting to get a little more settled in. Things are still crazy most days, no doubt, but starting to get a little more comfortable with some things. I've got some bigger cases coming down the pipe that I might be calling in the AG's office for, if they're that type of.
So sometime back, we used to get a lot of assistance from the state's attorney's office in, what was that? They didn't have a guy working here helping us?
The attorney- yeah.
Do we still have that guy available to us, or has he disappeared? or-
So my understanding of that situation, there was a lot of actions that weren't being pursued, and that's the main reason he was here on a more regular basis to assist in pursuing those actions. Obviously, Kay didn't have anybody from the AG's office here a whole lot, but she
Yeah, I think so.
more than capable of handling the things that were thrown her way. What I'm mentioning is it's types of cases that are the type that the Attorney General's office usually assists with anyway. I don't want to say any more than that.
But we still get that assistance.
Yes, anytime. If I request assistance from the Attorney General's office on a case of a serious enough magnitude, they'll either send somebody out from here, up here to assist me, or somebody, there's a woman that's based in Aberdeen. And I know she has assisted Mr. Ratcook over in Marshall County on a few cases over the last couple of years, so.
What do you think of that?
I just looked through the first couple pages and
Long history with this guy before.
Yeah.
He came out. I think Tim Wyman was here when he was popular, that professor.
yeah, I've heard stories. I'll check with the federal district court to see if it's been actually filed or anything. If we have to respond, we'll have to get somebody else to do it. I'm not licensed in federal court at this time,
Oh,
so might be something we have to,
postpone it till April?
or contract out if we need to respond at some point. I didn't think I was gonna have to be licensed in federal court. That might have to change, I guess, in the future, but.
What, is that just a matter of filing?
It is,
request kind of-
yeah, filing paperwork, paying a registration fee, and then going and getting sworn in by a federal judge. But I'd never looked into the process, didn't think it was gonna come up.
Sure, yeah. You can get it all here, Roberts County.
I'll check with the federal court and see if this has even been filed or anything yet, and what the status of it is, and go from there. Any other questions for me this morning?
Nothing from this end, Dylan.
All right. On an unrelated thing, could you stop over, tomorrow sometime?
Sure.
Sure. Thank you.
You bet.
Back to the highway thing too. Am I remembering right, something about that southwest corner issues with water there or something? And also with our,
They puddle up there, didn't
Some contamination holding, I think, was what,
we've got something else with our tanks or overflow or hazardous material or something?
The oil tanker,
Yeah.
sits there kind of in the middle of everything.
Yeah. I think all those things need to be looked at, and even if we, get our game plan and start moving those things and working on.
Well, should we ask back then that they have Clark's take a, or the likes of someone like that, take a look at it, and figure out where they could.
What the environmental, yeah, environmental aspects of that whole thing.
And
Because it's,
let's start moving on things,
Is there anything that can go in where that wood structure was? We doesn't want to put a building or anything like that because it's so close to the road, but can some of that other stuff be moved up there or stored up there or, whatever, so there frees up more space to build whatever we decide we might build?
Well, I think the lot is, if if we get somebody out there to give us a plan and say, well, you can do this, and then we'll see what we got left for lot, because right now I say, well, we could put it there and say, well, not if we're gonna drain, that maybe it's in the way of, you know, so I think we need to take care of the contamination issue and the drainage issue, and then see what we got left for lot, and say, okay, now where can we build it?
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I think it could be, you know, if I started today, and I said, you start researching today, by the time you let somebody write the spec and then get bids on all this stuff and got it actually constructed, and you could be
Yeah.
out there quite a ways, like, you know, 6 months to a year perhaps. I don't know.
Well, I'd say, Clark, they could probably look at our equipment and tell us how big a building we need.
Yeah.
I think right now, part of it's gonna be like, say, we need the tire shop. And if we eliminate that, maybe it would be a smaller. Those are, I've got a lot of groundwork to do.
Yeah. Maybe just ask Pat to start looking into it a little more seriously. And,
Really
Yeah, really.
You know,
You know, it should be kind of slow right now, especially with snow will not being a big deal as a different passengers.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sherry.
How are you?
We're fine. How are you? Challenge.
Well, good. I was kind of stressed this morning, but now I'm relieved a little bit because I can get all my stuff done the way it's supposed to fall into place. So assessment notices are going out at the end of the week. So we're getting printed yesterday, gonna get them folded and stuffed, everything in. So the reason why we need to be here today is last week in zoning, we did approve the first part of the rezoning from the appellant that we had who wanted to rezone the property down on the highway use commercial.
Into commercial.
Right, it already is commercial after we had found out, so he just wanted that other part, that 3D, remember? So then, it was, my mistake on not going further with it, I assumed it was like the same steps of the variance and conditional use that I had in my head. Rezone takes an extra couple of readings. It needs to come to the Board of Commissions. So that's where we're at right now. So, to rezone, we've done everything up to the Planning and Zoning Commission will either recommend or not recommend approval of the zoning amendment to the Board of Commissions by a simple majority vote. So that's what we did on Tuesday. So now we need to set up a meeting with, to have a first reading and then a second reading, to continue on with this highway commercial rezone. We acted as zoning board last week during zoning. Now we need to bring it to the Board of Commissions. And so that needs to be published in the paper for 10 days for the first hearing and then 7 for the second. And then at the second reading, it may pass the ordinance amendment by a simple majority vote. And that's when we would ask for public comment again at that time. So, at that point, then we also have something else that was brought up last Tuesday at Zoom, was that Faye had mentioned that there is no storage units available to build in our new zoning in highway commercial, in our new zoning ordinance. And after visiting with Todd from First District, he affirmed that. And so then I said, well, we need to bring that back in because we need to have highway commercial storage units because it wasn't the zoning before. And we have existing ones out there. And I had talked with Todd and he shut me down. he said, absolutely not, you guys voted on that, and I called Dennis and I asked Dennis, and he says, Dennis thought it was an oversight. I asked for, he says, well, Todd had mentioned that he would look through his notes to see if we had taken it out or not. I have not had any, I looked through 4 or 5 of my different copies that I have, and I have not seen where we had specifically said to take it out or not to take it out. And so, that would be something that he would recommend, Todd from First District would recommend to the board to change that parcel of land to lakefront. Well,
It's not even close to lakefront.
well, and that's what I had said, because I said, but Todd, lakefront is 1,000 feet from water back. We're talking 15, anywhere from 12 to 1,500 feet back. And he says, well, it would be the best interest to do that. And I says, well, I guess I will visit with the board on it and see what the best interest the board wishes to do, because it's up to you guys. It's not up to me, it's not up to Todd, it's up to.
Yeah, we have all different set of zoning rules for lakefront as opposed to.
And to bring that in, so that is something that,
Did he explain why he wouldn't want to do it the way we thought we were gonna do it this last week? I mean, why would we want that, this highway with the
Well, we'd have to
ability?
amend the ordinance to.
because we have to amend the ordinance because it's storage
I
units.
gotta think that was oversight. I mean, I can't imagine any reason why we wouldn't have allowed it in
Yeah.
the first place. I mean, unless there's a specific thing that I'm not.
You can read to the board what we have there in terms of recreational vehicles and park, which is so vague that you could interpret that, well, we're gonna park recreational vehicles in storage units. But that is, somebody, if it was us or who it was, didn't do a very good job of explaining read that, what's acceptable to the.
For highway commercial,
So is that under conditional use or permitted, we need to do this?
It would be permitted.
well, and that was another thing, he thought it should be under conditional use, but it's a permitted under lakefront.
Okay, I believe I still have all my stuff from when we were doing that. I
Please
can't
go through
believe
it.
that we would exclude that, I just don't see
Well, it
any.
just makes no sense. You look at Dade County and Marshall County with the lakes regions that they have, and it's an obvious necessity, and there's storage units all over the place that house recreational
And to
vehicles.
put it in the lake shore, I mean, I would think that's an individual who wants to build a shed to put his own stuff in. But to build a commercial unit, I mean, I would think that would fall over the lake shore, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't allow it.
Well, and the requirements for lot sizes and all those things
All
are
changes.
different. That's a whole different can of worms. I don't know.
Why did he want it in lakefront though? I don't.
Because
Because
it's
it's
already
permitted.
It's already there.
Permitted in lakefront.
And we would have,
Well, this type of storage unit is permitted in lakefront district already. And so that was the question at hand.
Boy, you said
Is
it's gotta be a
to-
quarter of a mile and a half.
And that's what I said, but then it's not going to fall in there because it's not meeting the footage, because the footage is 1,000 foot. And already is zoned, the property where he wants to put the storage unit, lot B1 or lot B is already highway commercial.
Sure.
The only thing that we would like to continue is to do the little piece that's in the corner of 109 and Highway 15. And I would say that piece right there would be it would not fall under lakefront if you ask me.
we're not even going that way.
So, and the only reason why the party wants lot 3B right there to be zoned highway commercial is because he wants to replat lot B and B3. So it's one parcel of land and they both are the same zone. Which makes sense to me. So what we need to do is 2 things. One, we need to set up meetings to continue on with the hearings. And two, we need to visit with First District to get the ordinance amended to say that storage units like that can be accessible on your guys' behalf. And then, I've also visited with First District back in November, December, about adding those, living quarters back into the back garages. And, I just came across the email again, and I still haven't heard anything from that, so maybe we can do both of those together.
Yeah.
So that would be my two recommendations, so we could easily, get in the paper for Wilmot is Friday, it just needs to go in the Wilmot paper, cause it's down that way, it doesn't have to go in the other two. So we're looking at probably I suppose what are we looking at? If it goes in this Friday, the 26th, so that'd be Monday's paper.
Can you get it in this Friday, yet? When's it?
No, it's due on, it's due,
They print it Monday.
Their paper comes out like on Wednesdays.
In Wilmot?
Yeah, Wilmot paper comes out on Wednesday.
yeah, I think I have to have it to Terry by, on Friday, the information on Friday. So if I have it to him by Friday, then it has to be in the paper 10 days for the first one and then 7. And I will do some, maybe we can even do them both the same day, I don't know if we can or not. We have the first hearing and the second hearing.
Yeah, do
Is
it.
this something you can write, or does Todd have to write this for us, or?
Well, I have it in my manual on how to write it here, because that was something that he, but anyway, so we'll get that figured out, if that's the dates that you want. Is the
Whatever.
closest,
Yeah, we need to straighten that out, because that's not. That's
you
not.
know, and so then we'll have, and the dates that we're gonna set then would just be for this highway commercial that's at hand, that we talked about. And then Todd would then, meet with us, and we'd have to figure out the dates that he wanted to do, hold the hearings on the county commission boards for getting the ordinance amended.
Sure.
And this shouldn't hold this guy up at all, because he was gonna put those new buildings on the old lot anyhow, which is already set up. the way
That
it
is highway commercial, but the
Well, it's
only
not-
thing
it's not
is,
recorded.
it's not permitted. And it's not in here, so he does have
So
to
we have to
wait to
change
go
it,
through
yeah.
the ordinance.
Yeah, okay.
So I would get Todd up to ASAP on the amount of money we pay for, to First
Well, and is he
District.
still not doing face-to-face visits, I don't know.
I'm still confused, the permitted use that says what? Recreation,
It says here, the intent of a highway commercial is to provide commercial areas for those establishments which can function most satisfactorily in an area directly related to a major vehicular circulation route due to the nature of the merchandise handled and displayed space required, particularly items required expansive display, which is motor vehicles, trailers, and farm implements. The method of transportation requires the purchase of the merchandise handled, particularly goods customarily traded in bulk, such as lumber or feed requires access to customers and sale areas. Primarily dependence upon vehicular as opposed to pedestrian access as a drive-in facilities and all types of automotive and farm implement services are a clientele toward which established are primary oriented, particularly travelers on the highway. So permitted uses are field, crop, grassland, orchards, trees, temporary structures used for sales of agricultural products provided that they have been no past violations. Accessory uses in buildings subordinate to uses listed in the permitted or conditional use, temporary structures used for sales of fireworks. On-premises signs provided they meet the requirements. And then it goes on to a conditional use of truck terminals and freight warehouses, structures on both commercial and residential uses. Implement sales and services, sales and grain storage, fertilizers, chemical storage and sales, highway, street maintenance shops, welding and machine shops, gas, oil, liquid propane, public and private utilities, livestock sales, contractors, coal distributing companies, restaurants, motels, recreational vehicle sales, and art.
That's the one, that's the one.
Well, and so
What did we mean by that?
if you can store grain or seed, why can't you store both?
Indoor
It's
chemicals.
storage,
Yeah.
so you tell what you can store.
So, but he says those storage units like that are not permissible, he said, and
It doesn't-
they're not even in, he doesn't feel that that falls into this category.
But I do, and I think we need to change our ordinance, amend our ordinance to include storage units as a conditional use. Right?
Right.
I agree with it.
That's what we want, and let's make it happen.
So then that would
What do you
be,
think, Tom?
I agree.
We wanna put more specific language in there that states.
I think it could be construed that it's already in there, but let's just make it clear.
Yeah.
And amend the ordinance, and then there's no question.
You could read that thing 10 times, and I would have it said each of those 10 times. You get that bottom section, that said, and recreational vehicles.
Yeah.
But you have to expand on that a little bit, maybe say,
True.
whatever, whatever recreational vehicles are, boats, four-wheelers.
So I say, when it talks about storage of feed or seed, and they say, well, it's storage, what's? So you're gonna have to list everything that they can store, and that's ridiculous.
I would think so too.
It should have just said storage units
Yeah,
as a conditional use, and then it would be up to the board of commissioners to decide
yeah.
if that's something that we wanted to.
Yeah.
Allow.
You could forbid hazardous chemicals,
Right,
or
Yeah.
yes.
gas and oil, but they specifically said gas and oil in there, permissible
Yeah,
storage.
so that would be something that the board would have to take action on, is to get that ordinance adjusted,
We will.
amended for those two things.
Storage units and living quarters.
Yeah.
Living quarters, is that under A? Or where
No,
is
that is
That's
under
like
lakefront.
lake stuff,
Just
yeah.
lakefront.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, got it.
That it for that subject?
Yes.
I'd like to call for executive session to discuss personnel. Motion by Tim, second by Don. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We are going into executive session.
Jen, will you make sure that the audio is shut off when you take that thing out there?
It is, when I'm unplugged the microphone, when I take these two out.
Last week, we could overhear a conversation that was going on between a clerk and the treasurer's office.
Oh, was it supposed to? Cause I turned this off and I unplug it, and it's not supposed to have audio.
Does your iPad pick up audio? Is there a built-in microphone?
No, as long as this is in, it doesn't record.
Okay,
It's not supposed to.
okay, because it was last week.
I'll mention that to Jason then.
All the ones like, How long, Dave, do you have any idea how long it'll be? I know they're starting at 65 and over now. Do you think it'll be like maybe 2 weeks, that they do 60 and up?
Who knows? Oh. Yeah, we just go by whatever the state guidelines say.
I see they went to 65 and then they include like teachers and funeral home people.
Well, that was state because, but here, they try to follow the state guidelines, but yeah, they have all this in.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
That's what I was.
Because one day, we only got in because one day
So
they
you
had,
want me to go to the courier?
I think 4
Because-
doses left.
I don't get why.
And so
I'd like to
they-
get that on live camera.
It was like the Scrooge moment, we have 4 doses left,
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding why you're asking me to leave. I told you I'm not a close contact. I'm following the same guidelines my kids do. If you're saying that I can't be in here, then you're saying that the school should not be in session.
We're not talking about what goes on at the school system, we're talking about what goes on in the Roberts County Courthouse.
I'm not a close contact.
And when we have somebody that's been exposed to the virus,
I'm not.
we ask those employees to quarantine themselves at home.
I'm following the CDC guidelines. If you want me to leave, fine, that's fine. I'm just saying, I'm following the CDC guidelines. I will have Kevin, or, not Kevin, but Jason come over and take care of this then.
You know, the building as well. It doesn't help, does it?
Jason's been exposed as well.
Yeah, you read it.
No,
Morning, Pat.
one, Don's not here.
Oh,
I'm not here, so.
Started off with a little list and I ended up with a little bigger list. It's like, really? Didn't think we'd be that way. I don't go fast. So this thing turned off.
No.
no, it's on.
It's on.
Okay,
Yeah, it's on.
this is checking.
Yeah, it's on.
Maybe we'll wait for Dawn and you can talk about what we talked about earlier,
Oh,
about the shop.
Yeah, and we'd really like to work towards replacing that building out there.
Yeah, okay.
And, one of the suggestions that makes sense to us is where would we locate a replacement for that? We know it can't be in that same spot, because it's just too tight with the
Yeah.
roundabout taking up the ground that it has. One idea that came to mind was that, if we could have Clark Engineering come out there, not on a special trip, but when they're in the area, they're
Yeah,
here.
Steve was just here yesterday.
Well, gee, okay.
Well, don't worry about it, we always.
They'll be
back and
coming back,
forth.
I suppose, with the
We're
Eastwood
working
Bridge
constantly.
project and stuff, they're here pretty regular. But to have them do an assessment of that ground, to see,
Oh, you're talking about like for the cell base and stuff for the ground, you mean?
well, to locate a replacement shop, and if the drainage could be rerouted kind of around, or maybe to the south and around the lot line, and then
Yeah, cause right now where we have our hazmat plan, you know, we have to pump that out every time it goes around the back to the south and it runs out to the drain out in the street.
Right.
Where the old 4-H, part is when they have the old building.
Sure.
And right now, our drain that comes off of our cement slab that, where our fuel tank is, that runs out to the street. And everything that they did with the roundabout runs out to the street, which is not a big deal, but that's where it is.
Yeah.
And, we have another drain that comes right off by that old building, you know, where our main water drain for the yard, from the west to the east goes right there through the yard. And that can be changed.
Any
of course,
corner
once you get it.
cuts that lot.
Yes, and that can all be changed once you have it fixed.
Well, that's what we thought they should look at, and that's so we can make the best use of the lot, reroute the drainage, or whatever.
Oh, yeah, and then, cause like I said, if we'd have to put more money into like the concrete floor to put our old tank in and have stuff moved, and we wouldn't have that big hole to pump out every time in the corner, we could change the hazmat plan to where that would be all filled in, repacked, redone, have a nice piece of ground, and we'd have to pour a cement flooring slab so thick and so wide and long just to keep the 10,000 gallons of oil on hand that we usually have in the summer, and our distributor truck could run out there, but the reason why that was like that is if you have trucks parked outside and something would happen, they'd have a place to drain and that would all get collected and then you gotta deal with it, but that's a different deal, but yeah, I mean, if you want something where it's located, ground part, one thing I know that's gonna be a problem when they put 3-phase or redid the electrical, they cut around and went right through the ground and went right around to Highway 10 that way from the west side and cut that in there, which would be no problem, we just have to locate it and when you build on that, hopefully you ain't building on top of that, you'd be building back, which that's gonna be a problem, because that's gonna be underneath the ground there.
What,
Went from the
what are you
corner
saying,
home.
is there buried lines to
Yeah.
our lot?
Buried.
3-phase?
Yeah. Went over in the corner there and started off at 700 and went that way and then came straight across, straight north. And then came back around to give us power. They had, redid all the power when they did 700.
Those are the things I think we're saying need to be taken into consideration.
Yeah,
What we want
that's
to do with that.
Like,
Not making
that
a
type of
mistake.
stuff is in there, so. But yeah, we could, you know, get a plan together.
So they, yeah, they can look at it and take all that into consideration and see, figure out if it makes best use of the lot, so we can determine where to build a new one.
Exactly.
But we don't know what size the building, we don't know.
Right.
One of the things we talked about, and obviously you got no input on this, we sort of, you know, do we need a tire shop? Are we so close to Twin Valley Tire, we could just get rid of that and take everything to Twin Valley Tire? Is our equipment adequate, or do we?
Well,
And we need a discussion.
yeah, see, all
We
that
need to
right
decide
now
We
is,
just need to take all that into consideration as we get together a plan and come up with some idea how big a building we need.
yeah, we do
How
all
much
that.
it needs to be heated, how much it needs to be just plain storage, is it a 2-phase project, do you do something this year and something next year, or whatever, just, we need to get going on it, we're never getting anything done, I guess, and the thought we had today was if, you know, we decided to use something like a full engineering to put together a specification, you're gonna have to start contacting people pretty quick to get jobs lined up for the summer, or we're gonna run into next year, and, you know, we're just trying to get a general
Start
idea of what it is.
Get the ball started.
Well, yeah, get the ball rolling here, I guess.
Yeah, we can start on something.
Yeah.
Okay, Don, I got a couple right of ways from, Whetstone Valley is doing work. They wanna do some boring in County Road 34 or something, probably, you know. So they have two different, right of ways, one is on County Road 34 and actually there's 3 sections, it'll be County Road 34 and section 11, 15, and 22. And then I have the criteria here, it's, the first one in section 11 is 124 north and 51 west, which would be the range for all of them done. The range in the section, and, so I'll just give that to you here. And, I looked at it, one of them is just boring across, which is no big deal, by 2 races. The other one is 3 different sections along the west side, they're gonna be boring along the west side of 34 down there to the south. And so, I don't see no problem with that, talk to them about keeping it out as far as they can. And they will clean up after they've done the same criteria as what we normally have. So, just wanna have a motion to give them right away for doing that boring.
Is there a motion by Carlson to approve the easements, second by Zengel. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no, motion carries.
So if you wanna date it, I didn't date it, I just signed the top of each one. And then down, if you wanna take copies of this, all that. Yeah.
Mail it. Okay.
And we'll just leave the copies out. And then we did get fuel last Thursday for the courthouse. And we had, I sent it out to Stilson's, Biggs, Harms Oil, CHS. And 2 of them could not deliver that day, so they didn't bid, it was Biggs and Stilson for 2 different reasons. And then CHS bid and Harms did not bid, and so then CHS had to bid with $2.12.4. So that come out to be about $15,930, and that had already been sent to them, so. That was already delivered on Thursday, and that's not a bad price, $2.12 yet for number 2 fuel, so. But that's what happened.
Motion to approve the low bid after the fact.
Yeah.
Fay, thank you. Second by Tom. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries.
That's usually the way, the roundabout way we do it, when Doug called me, he goes, yeah, I'm gonna be feeling pretty slow, well, then we just take for them to do it, because he doesn't wanna get so low, so.
Yeah, when it below 0, they're going for 100 gallons a day.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Okay, so, we do have quite a discussion, I suppose, to go on this project with the game and fish. I got a handout here, and then we can discuss a little bit of stuff here.
Is this the CG Hollow Road?
This is for City Hall that comes into the park and on the park for
Okay.
Roberts County. What I'm passing around right now is 2020 costs, if we were to go do it, which would be a pain behind them, I already told them if your chip seal on the park there. We've done it years ago, but the problem, the whole deal is, they have parking lots and parking spots all the way through the park, plus down the entrance. And I talked to Paul about that. And the last 2 days when I was getting the numbers together, basically, it's kind of a wash, because they're willing to do it 2 different ways. Either us go in there and chip seal and pay us the 75% back, or we just do the original plan, and they do a bid with like Jonas or whoever, and they do the whole park, they do the parking lots, they do the whole 9 yards, and we ended up paying 25%. And when I did the numbers, last year's bid was, $53,928. Okay, so our 25% was actually only the cost of our oil, it wasn't no overhead costs, indirect costs, it would cost me to do that amount. And when I give you this here, it costs $17,000 for just our cost to go do that part, so what would happen is, if we went and did it ourselves right now, we don't know what the cost is gonna be, cause we're gonna have a higher cost with bids, and that's what I talked to Paul. This is 2 years old almost, so they would have to rebid it for 2021, and the cost will go up a little bit, right? Everybody knows it's gonna go up some. And 2 different ways was Marshall County would do it either way, if we decide we would do it ourselves, which we do not wanna go that route. The simple fact is, if you took what it costs me right now to do it, and they pay us back 75%, well, let's say it was $18,000, I'd be still getting $13,500 back from them, and then we wouldn't have to do the work. Because I got all the chips all the way up there and all the extra stuff. And when I figured this here, that's as close as it gets, it's just about a wash. So technically, if they're gonna go get it out for bituminous, there's somebody else to come and do the whole park and do the whole thing. So we pay 25%, I think that's a real deal, if we're to participate in it. Because then the figures is about the same money. And, you know, we can go do our patching on the culverts and make it nice, and then somebody can come chip seal over it and stuff. And we plan on doing that work into the outside there coming in anyway. So,
Here they're saying there, the total cost of 40,500, our cost would be 13,500.
yep, exactly. And now if they did it again, you know, that would go up some, over 53,000.
So if you take the 17,000, and they're paying 75%, it would be like $4,000.
Yeah, but the difference would be,
Right, am I reading that wrong? You're saying this is old numbers, I realize that, but
Yeah.
based on this, our cost would be $4,200 or something like that? Versus
We're saying
versus
our
13,500.
our share is 14,000.
no,
Well, the gross is 40,000, our 25% would be 13,500.
the 25% of this,
I know what they're saying, the total cost in Roberts County is 40,500.
Yeah.
And they're gonna reimburse 75%, which leaves us $13,500 for cost.
Right,
We're here,
yeah,
we need
so we can do it for $4,000. Old number, but maybe go down to $5,000, $6,000, it's still half the cost.
yeah. Yeah, it would be a lot cheaper that way, right, to do it, if we wanted to move in and do it ourselves.
That is, how
It's
can,
basically a third of the cost.
yeah, how can you do it for 17,000 and the state is saying it's 40,000?
Well,
We're not
see,
making profit on it.
because they got a bit of that has to come in, like their mobilization and everything, is, you know, so much more money, but they're gonna do the whole park, you know, decide whatever it costs for them, I'm sure. Be the same amount, you know, for Marshall County when they get to do that, so.
Did you calculate the other area that technically is not the county road, like the
No.
parking pads, the?
No, when I said
I
I,
wonder if that 40,000 includes that other part that goes.
that
back.
includes all, they're gonna pay 100% of the parking stuff. We're just paying for that coming in.
Because that little strip that's technically a Roberts County road would not cost $40,000 to resurface.
No, that's because the bidders, you know. The company's gonna have to make so much to, you know, by the time they move in and do all that.
In his email, and I don't know if you got this latest response back from Paul, but I guess when we talk about sharing labor back and forth with Marshall and Dade County, this says that Marshall County does not do any of their own.
They don't, so what Dustin's gonna
What is
do,
it that we share with them? I mean,
your last page, you give me was,
I just emailed this morning.
yeah, that's right. Tammy made that off.
it must not have any tax.
No, what they do is they don't have any equipment, and what they do is he told Paul that, okay, let's say we're gonna do our own area, our own stuff, and Paul goes to Dustin and says, okay, so it's up to you guys to do it yourself, we'll give you 75% back or whatever, and then it's done. So what Dustin's gonna do is he's gonna bid out projects, like maybe he's got a chip seal project, he's gonna go bid. And Bituminous will come in and do it, he's just gonna add that on to his projects for the summer. So if he has 1 mile or 2, whatever it is, he's just gonna add that on to his, and Bituminous will come and do whatever miles, and then they'll come and do it.
So when we go back and forth and help each county, Dade County or Marshall County, they don't bring any equipment over because they don't have any.
Well, they usually are truck hauling and trucks usually, and
And a
then
driver.
power trucks. That's usually what we use.
Okay, so when we go and pay them back, that's what we pay them back with? Or do we take a chip seal?
No. Like, they haven't helped us chip seal for a couple of years, so we never even had them, but we did do some graveling back and forth,
Yeah,
and that was when we had Kasha, and then We had a semi go there the last time, they had Paul and do some stuff.
Yeah.
And then that was the last stuff we did, but when we do it with Dade County, they have their own chipper, we have our own chipper. And like we do our contract, we take the lowest number of costs, including the rental rates and everything, and we go by that. So whether we're working in Dade County or Roberts County, take the same amount of money, or it costs on it.
Well, I understand Dade County has the
Yep.
equipment to do it, but Marshall County does
No,
not.
so Marshall County in this situation, they're just gonna hire it done anyway.
Yeah.
And they're gonna get it done one way or the other, whether it's this much money or that much.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Our deal is, you know, I told them right out, I'm not doing the parking lots. I did them before and I won't do it again because it's just too much of a pain in the butt. You can get around with the bigger equipment, but do the little parking lots in the little, every area.
The little ones,
You got all the curb and gutter and it's just no way. I said, but coming just for our 10th of a mile, coming in and out, you know,
Yeah.
then it's fine. But then we gotta move from where our chip seal projects are and move the chipper all the way over there and move everything back over there. For that little bit and, you know, whatever. And I told him this morning, my personal feeling was the chip seal that comes on our end is fine for right now. I mean, it is sufficient, it was fog sealed and it has, you know, really nice chips down on it right now, you know, so. But the project that I wanna do for sure is the culverts that we need to go over and the bridge. We're already gonna do a little overlay patching on that to make it smooth because it isn't done yet, so. But it's up to you guys to decide whether you're just gonna tell me to go do it, or done with it, or if we're just gonna leave it for a year and not have to chip seal that part.
Well, you know, it'd be, because Marshall County's gonna go ahead and do it anyway.
Well, yeah.
They're gonna do it, they committed to it last year and
Yeah,
GF&P backed out because we said.
cause he doesn't have to do the work,
We would-
you
He
know,
doesn't have to do the work for one thing.
exactly, he doesn't have to do the
I
work.
think they maybe have a little more money to work with than we do.
Well, that's, for sure, too,
Yeah. A lot of things come down to that, but I sure like to save the embarrassment for one thing, because if half, more than that, probably 3/4 or 80% of that road is gonna be resurfaced, and then the piece that Roberts County has is not. I mean, that,
yeah, and it's,
To me,
it's
that's-
under a mile long, it ain't even a mile long, so you know what I'm saying, it's a stretch there, so.
so can we get support from the board and the highway superintendent to go ahead with this project and have GF&P do it and have our cost, hopefully it won't be much more than 13.5.
It won't be a lot more, I doubt, I mean, you know, we gotta get, I mean, well, the thing with this too, you know, Don, like, we could, you know, if we're gonna be doing an overlay, we could go back and put an 1.5 inch overlay for that little bit of extra too, and it wouldn't be just chip seal, it'd be a little overlay, we're right there, we're doing it, but, you know, that's gonna be a little more money.
Got resolutions on it.
You wouldn't be going back to
Yeah,
that.
my only reservation is if we can do it, again, old pricing and realize, if we can do it for a third the cost, why would we wanna pay them to do it?
I think the quality of material is a little different too, aren't they using granite chips?
They didn't say they were using granite chips in here, so I don't know, that's what they used last time, was granite chips, so it's a little more money.
That's the only issue I have, we can do it ourselves for a third of the cost, I don't know why we wanna pay them to do it for us, and,
Yeah,
we're only doing 25 miles of chip seal each year. So.
right.
But I understand your concern on one thing, you know, we look bad if our little stretch of road is not done, everything else is, but.
I have a question on how did they arrive at this $40,000 for less than that?
Well, did you get the breakdown?
I kinda think, Tom, that includes all of that part with on the Roberts County side. It could be the parking spaces or somehow.
Well, maybe that was everybody.
Oh, we reached the road, not part of.
Well, but it's gonna cost us $17,000 whole pricing to do it ourselves,
Yeah,
and put profit on top of it,
yeah,
and, well, like you stick it to the state in the first place.
I wanna see where they arrived at, how'd you arrive at $40,000 estimate?
with their mobilization, with their signing, everything costs them more money to bring in.
Yeah, but if they're doing, if they're basing that on, that's our portion. of it.
That's just our portion.
They're mobilizing for the whole park, so you gotta divide that
No, that's
mobilization,
true,
like, the
too,
whole
yeah.
park, not give it all to 1 mile of it.
Well, right, that $5,000 just alone in mobilization, I don't know if they cut that down.
I don't,
That's something we'd have to ask their engineer when they did bid it, cause they gotta come up with another cost, but that's what it is, I mean, black and white, that's what they're showing.
Can we do this? I mean, can we agree to repair the road and discuss how we're gonna, between now and the time it needs to be repaired, will we do it ourselves, or will we have them do it to get clarification on these numbers then, but just commit to them that they take care of the road this year? Is that acceptable to anybody, or?
Because Paul told me this morning on the phone that, you know, they'd have to get his engineer to get another estimate for 2021. And if there is costs that would go up a little more, then you have a more accurate, number on this project too. So if it went up 6,000
well, see, they
That
got,
puts it at 53.
see, they want a fog seal
That's
over
how
it.
they- That's how they arrive at the 75-25 number, they start with 54,000.
Yeah, well, the whole total project, they have the chip seal and the fog seal. See, the fog seal, you know, is that extra $3,200. Cause they always want a fog seal over when they're done. And that's fine, cause it seals it up and it's the best way to do it. We just never can afford it, so we don't do it. And if we have a federal job in the state where we get state funds, then yeah, but then we fog seal everything and chip seal. But normally on a basis, I don't spend extra money to do it. But this is, like you say, this is only so many tons of chips and all that. It doesn't say,
see, they're like, on their breakup, they got type 2A cover aggregate.
Yep.
I'm assuming that's the chips.
type two, that's the chips,
So
yes.
they got $8,500 and we got 500.
Yeah.
See, it cost me only $520 for a ton
Oh,
of
that's
chips, and that's
That's what
why.
I'm saying, this,
So they just arbitrarily raised the number up and then said, well, but you only have to pay for 25%
so
of it.
we'll raise the price 4 times, then reimburse you 3/4, say, well, we're paying for all of it.
And
Yeah.
see, that's not necessarily Game and Fish doing it or anything, it's because of the contractor, when the contractor's gonna pay more
And then
money.
what's the CRS 2P asphalt?
That's emulsion asphalt that they use to do the chip seal with.
And that's oil?
Yep.
Then what's the composite E2 then? Right above it, $7,525.
Yep, that's,
Yeah,
type two,
They got more money in those 2 items than we got in the whole bid.
And they got $8,000.
oh, and see, they do have some, I don't know where they plan on doing dig outs or anything, and excavating too, that more.
See, I think they're doing more chips with it.
You know, they're doing some dig outs, and then they also, if you look at it, they're doing crack seal too with $3,400.
Sweep and pick up chips, do we pick up chips, or you just sweep them back in the middle of the?
We don't on ours, we don't, we sweep it in,
It's
the
$8,000.
yeah,
I don't think we're comparing apples and apples here.
so, I mean, it is cheaper for us to do it.
How many miles are the road that are in the park between both counties, do you know?
On the map, I got the map this time, I don't know, I don't really. But anyway, it's only a couple miles of road, 1 mile each, I mean, it ain't more than a mile long up there for Marshall County is either. So it's only basically a couple miles. Usually it's over between 30 and 30-some thousand a mile, I think, with everything when you do it by the mile by a contractor. I mean, I've never contracted it out with bituminous for never, but the other counties that do it, you know, they get a pretty good deal depending on how many miles.
But what do you feel, like $20,000 a mile, right? Typically, when we do our stuff, 25 miles, that,
Yeah, well, last year it was $11,850 just for a mile of oil, not counting our chips, which I put on here now, the chips. So yeah, our total cost is pretty much what I wrote down here right now,
so just
so.
under 20,000.
I mean, it's gonna be 20-some thousand when you're done with fuel and all that, added on, it's 20-some thousand a mile. But indirect and direct costs, you know. Which, where's my paper here? Yeah, with our indirect costs, that's, would all be in there with what it would cost us, so. Over 7,000 there. Yeah, so you know, you're only talking 9/10 of a mile.
For our stretch.
Yeah,
It's not even a mile. I'm
it's not
surprised-
even a
I'm
full,
surprised
it's
it
not
was
even a full
I'm
mile,
surprised it was even that much,
right?
but if you don't do it, it's gonna look like a patchwork quilt by the time you get done. They go in and do the west part, we come in and do our part, and ask GF&P to do well, they're gonna do it anyway, on the parking pads and the other part that goes to the east, but
I mean, we're just gonna get some money back and it's gonna be done, and then, you know, whatever it costs us in the end. We get paid back that 75%, I guess that's about as good as it gets.
do they, I wonder, do they use the water base?
Yeah, that's emulsion water base, yes.
So
That's what they use for the fog
That's
seal.
different than what we put down.
Yep, it's different oil, but our oil costs more too. You know, on the average, but what I did is I only took their price, or I mean their quantity, which was pretty close. And then took it by how much our asphalt was last year by the ton, which was $500 some dollars a ton.
I mean, isn't it just state versus county stuff? I mean, if we build we put culverts in, and we go to a state spec, it's 3 or 4 times the cost if we do it ourselves.
Maybe we
We're
should.
just seeing the same thing here, aren't we?
Maybe we should say, well, you bid it out at this price and pay us 75%, we'll do the whole part.
Yeah, there you go. We'll make
No,
some
I
money.
told them I wouldn't do the whole
Well,
part.
we make money on
We'll
that,
make a
though.
ton of money at that point, yeah.
We make $25,000 on that bill.
Yeah, well, see, all their costs are way more than what we do at Direct. That's just understandable, because you got a contractor coming in to make money doing it, and then
Well,
us.
and they're working off state specs, I'm sure that's quite a different than ours might be, you know, justified or not.
Yeah.
A lot of that's just some engineer trying to justify his position.
Like you say, $8,000 in the sweep and pick up chips, that's just because they don't want the chips and no oil or anything spread out into the outside of the road, so you know. Where when we
But
go
you
out,
come back in,
we
sweep it back in
we
the
sweep it
center.
in until it gets packed, and then we sweep it out, we don't collect it, we throw it in the ditch and we're done with it. But that's just other costs, that is more money. And, like you say, the mobilization, they probably got 10,000 in mobilization, depending on where they're coming from, and that's why it's half of the money, you know, what they're talking about, you know. Marshall County, they have much more distance of road than we do.
In parentheses, they have 15%. Do you think that 5,700 is 15% of the total for mobilization?
Yeah, you know,
That's what it appeared to be.
yeah, that's what it is.
That is a ton of money to bring in.
That'd be $30,000-$40,000.
They have a big crew, they have a lot of equipment, I mean, they have like 4 packers, they have all this other stuff, I mean, they're, yeah, it's big time. And plus, they gotta have more equipment, because you have to have the smaller packers, you gotta get around these parking spots,
Right.
these little parking lots, which I can tell you, I won't wanna do it again. I've sprayed the whole thing down with distributor, and it's a pain in the hind end trying to get around. And you have to back your trucks all the way up and down there, backwards. You cannot go both directions and go around each other. You go one way, and then you gotta back all the way through the park to get, till you get done. Cause you can't get around only 2 spots, when they got a place where it gets wide, they got a little area where you can stop. That's the only place that you can get by each other. Then you gotta back down again, then you gotta back the trucks down, you gotta back the distributor down. Then the distributor goes, he has to get out of the way, then the other truck's gotta back down, it's just such a pain in the ass. So that's why, our little bit, we're lucky, we don't have to get around the curves and get into the park, we're just in the entrance, 9 tenths of a mile, so that's,
You wouldn't want to put a rookie in the truck to back it up and down this hill.
so, you know. If we wanna do the 10th of the month, be done with it, and then when we get there and get through it, I guess it is what it is.
I have a question on this project that you gave us. Is that the date, December 12th, 19?
Right, they've been asking
So
for,
these prices aren't going to be,
right, they're all gonna go up.
The same as ours percentage, right? We could boil
Yeah.
We just don't know how much yet, because they have to do another estimate, so. And Paul was telling me he's just maybe gonna get on it right away.
I don't say there's some.
He's gonna get on it right away and get there and do
I'm in favor.
so I'm curious, so do they come in and say, this is exactly how you have to do it, this is,
No, they're just bidding out to a contractors.
but they must have specs. Do we have to do the same specs?
No, because it's our road.
No, we don't have to, we just do it our way.
I didn't know because they're reimbursing part of it, 75% is, we have to follow those specs.
But what they're doing is, yeah, they're using maybe granite chips, we use regular P-rock chips. It's a different deal, it's shaped different,
Right, so
it's
we're
more
not,
money, so,
but we can do that, they don't have to, we don't have to follow their specs.
no. I mean, we do it just like we chip seal our own roads, that's just the way it is.
That's,
It's a gift, we should be able to do what we think is necessary with this.
And I think they're fine either way, you know, Paul's not saying anything like Dennis said too. I just wanna know either way, if we can do the work, then they will appreciate it too, and then you go, definitely. And we're done with it, and they just pay us 75% what it cost us, and we'll go down the road, so, you know, I guess whatever. I mean, I'm willing to do that if you want it done, that's your guys' decision.
We don't have the ability to sweep up the
We're not gonna sweep up the chips and get rid of them all.
chips, and, it's not really right to push them into the creek.
Plus, we have no packers, we have to use Dade counties, I'm using their cost of renting their, their packers, we don't have packers anymore. And we never did use packers, we gotta get a couple bought for the future, so. We get Dade County stuff, we rent theirs on a rental agreement, which we still have to do under contract for the year. And I would, Dade County let us use the packers and we would do it, and we use it for our own stuff.
Would we go further east beyond the park entrance to do resurfacing, or would you just stop?
That's all there, I mean, we probably go
Would you
right
just
up,
stop?
we wouldn't have to though. We can just go right up to the top of the upper line. Just depends on how everything come out, you know, with the chips at the time, and how many trucks we got there, and if it comes out there, it's good, and if it don't, if we wanna go more, we'll just go a little more, that's all.
Are the chips available locally right there?
No.
Oakens Pit doesn't have them?
No, we don't have chips there no more, we used them up before, and we don't have a stockpile, we either have to stockpile them early, or we'd have to haul them all from the wells or somewhere else to go do the project at the time.
Where would they come from?
Well, we got stockpiles in the wells, and we're gonna be stockpiling chips, we're gonna be chip sealing this year.
Well, it's the old city water valves.
Right, we got some there now. We're gonna be using them for our 33 day Eastern area.
So those are accounted for. Where would you have to, how far?
We would either have to stockpile more, cause we're not done stockpiling yet, we haven't even started stockpiling what we want to for our projects. So, we got, 900, 800 and some ton right now there, but we don't have what we want. And if we're gonna do this, it's not that many truckloads, it's only gonna be about 6, 7 truckloads.
So that's all.
Because, you're only talking, it's not 2-lane traffic like you would on a regular county road.
Yeah.
It's only maybe one pass, I don't even know how wide it is, because there's so much snow down there. I can't, get down there and measure it right now. But it's basically 1 lane, and it's half of the chips you'd use for the 1 mile, so that's what we, got. You figure 196 ton a mile, or a little give or take, and then that's for both sides of the road, see both lanes. So it's technically about 89 ton for each one. They got a 114.5 ton, which is about right, it's a little heavy, so that you get on heavy, but that's probably counting, not P-rock, but, lead, so it's a little. But anyway, it's immaterial, that's whatever.
Do you think you'll have a new number from Paul?
He said he was gonna talk to his engineer and get another estimate, so it's 2021 estimate close, but
Yeah.
we don't have any bids. Long story short, I guess, we go in there and have to do it, we'll do it, and they just pay us back that little bit of money that they owe us, and they done with it, but we're not, and he knows we're not doing it. Any of the parking. They would, he told me on the phone they'd do 100% of the parking.
Yeah.
And all that, cause I will not go in and do it.
Right, I don't blame you.
It'd be different if you had a small rig, similar, that's one thing, and then you have all the smaller stuff that you're in there.
Is that, you think that's something your guys could get in and out of there ahead of the general contractor? Would you try and do it at the same time, or would you do it when they left?
Well, yes, depending on the timing of when they're gonna do it and what schedule they'd be on, you know. We could probably do it earlier than they do it. But then if you do it earlier, guess what? Then they're trampling all over the chip seal you just did to go to the parking lot. Now you're coming in, if they come in from here,
Leftovers too, after.
then they're coming in and out already here and piling, driving over here to do this parking lots all the way through here.
Yeah.
And they'll just tear up our chip seal, so it'd probably be after they get it done. And then we could just go right in there and come right out.
How do you feel about us just leaving the
But
chips?
then it wouldn't be fog sealed, so it would look totally different.
It'll look different.
Unless they fog seal all the ours at the same time. This fog seal our 9/10 of a mile.
And that's what gives
Figure it out.
That's what gives it that even black
Yep,
coating.
it's a little coating of oil to seal up the top and the dust and the dirt, and then they let it set. And then it's done. And they can do that. You know, they can come down with town, well, just have it in there, they just fog seal the rest of it up, and all looks the same.
You know, there's that little stretch of Marshall County Road from north and south Buffalo Lake over to Eden, they did it that way. It ended up being a pretty decent road for a number of years, but it's getting kind of bouncy again now.
But see, yeah, they're just putting sand on there, though, I think, over too, which is normal, but, that's quite a bit more to it, there. 3200. You guys call it, yes.
What do you wanna do, Mr. Chairman?
I said we got half of out there too.
The 13.5, I'd like to see a new number on that as soon as possible.
Cause it'll just be higher once they do a 2020.
This whole bid was bid out in December, so, you know, a couple months past that, maybe.
They take 25,000 or 25%, probably be on the number closer to 60,000, you know. It's gonna be, I don't think it'll be 10,000 higher, no, I don't believe that would, but I mean, I know he said he was gonna go to the engineer, trying to get another outdated bid. So,
Okay.
it wouldn't, you know, prices don't come in until March, April, you know.
We're always getting bigger, that's for sure.
Well, I'm not hearing any definite no's to that, so I'd like to proceed.
So are we leaning towards us doing it, or are we leaning towards getting another number and all that?
My preference would be to see the contractor do it, but
So I need to tell Paul kind of where we're looking, what the way we're looking at it, so it's whatever. Whichever way you want to go that way, I guess. So I'll tell him we're just kind of still in the dark, but yeah, we need to get there another estimate, so,
see what the new number is.
okay? That'd be good. The bridge project is going really well down here in Eastman, just for an update, we got everything poured yesterday for the end now. Now there's gonna be a little standstill between now and April, they're gonna be doing the deck now for, forming up the deck the next few weeks. But the DOT and the state, you cannot pour before April 1st. So depending on the weather, they'll be getting everything ready to go on the deck. You get that ready, and by April, we'll be pouring.
What, I was on the last week, what are those big timbers?
Those timbers are, They're all rolled up, for the forms, for the forming for the cement.
Did they stay there then?
They'll take those out after.
To just build up against that for the
Yep,
concrete?
they need those to stabilize the forming.
Yeah, okay.
That's why the steel ones will stay. And then the other steel ones they'll cut out and get rid of those too.
Okay.
So they got the last four on the abutments now. Everyone is done now going across now. But the state won't let us pour till April, and that gives us time and weather to get the deck filled. And then they have the root wrapping to do on the west side yet before they can do anymore. And then they're gonna do plate up now for the next few weeks on the road. So we can get some of that out of there and get things kind of shaped up. But it is going really
Yeah,
good.
two guys down there working last time when they were.
Yep, and yesterday, there was actually one of the owners of the company asked if they could take a break and not have anybody come. I said, no, it's in the contract, somebody's gotta come every day and needs to keep the floor going. So they said, okay, but,
I'm just gonna throw it out because it's my obligation as a township guy, that crossroad from Eastern Road over to that road that runs in front of the farm there. That thing, we put gravel down in there every year. There's more rocks sticking up on that road I've ever seen before, as well as it really goes in front of the farm there. So we just might have to look at doing something with those. The travel on that road is excessive. When we get into spring, when it's wet and mushy, we're gonna be destroyed and ready and all this crap. This is what-
on the township roads that go east and west, side, you can buy that, fully bladed.
Yeah, but we're also going north and south.
Yeah, going north and
Steve's
south,
taking
too.
Down to that corner of the things there, so.
Some of that, a lot of it, the gravel is not there right now either.
Well, no, but yeah, it's like, you know, we put gravel on those roads every year and they're acceptable. Now they got rocks sticking up.
Yeah.
Gravel just been pounded
Is
up
this,
and gone farther than the ditches and stuff because of the excess traffic, so. I wanna keep hammering on that everything we can get.
so yeah, and then we're gonna be, starting crack sealing tomorrow, so tomorrow and next few weeks now. You know, road limits will be going on Monday and Tuesday, we'll have them all around hopefully. But we're gonna start on Monday, we've been getting calls. And people are wondering, and we got some guys that are gonna haul cattle out west. Another guy that's hauling some grain out home, but they're trying to get everything done by Monday. So a lot of people are working with us, and of course the lake, trucks are hauling like a van, you know, now, they're just getting stuff all the process. Things will slow down a little bit, I think, yeah.
Next Monday and or Tuesday, we've done Tuesday.
Right. We won't get them all done in one day probably, but Tuesday they should all be up. But of course, the law range, they're not up. It's not enforced. So it's not a big deal, just for your food for thought, so. And, we got the blades out yesterday and today, and we'll be blading all week now when it's warm, and so we're trying to get around and stuff now, so. And then last but not least, I talked to Don, I was gonna bring this up, not that really. With our pickup situation, I got another pickup at the training went out, and I got it ordered, and it's gonna cost us $1,000 to get it in. You know, do it ourselves, but the cost of the thing. So anyway, wondering if you guys have any extra like COVID money for a vehicle for any reason, I would like to put in for a pickup, but that's if you got any extra funds other than in my budget, and if it's above and beyond, so we're ready to be able to do it. If COVID money makes it else. I do have a sheet, what it costs, it's $30,000, $30,169 for a 3/4 ton Chevy like I have on top of it. This is a state bid, and it's good for a year, that's just like when you buy your vehicle for the 12 months. So food for thought, I'll give it to you, and you can look at it, and that's kind of what I'd like to request if you could, but if you don't have any money later on, I don't care. But we have pickups that are costing us so much money, what the 6 pickups we do have, and we need to start upgrading it. There's, you know, it just keeps on every year. But that's on the state bid.
So would this be a pickup you would use?
Yes, it'd be one that I use, and mine would be handed down to the crew.
What year is your current one?
2015.
That you're using? Okay.
One on six, it has 130,000 on it right now.
How much, 130?
130. And we just hand that down to the crew and then hopefully we can get rid of our old signing pickup or one of the other ones that's just can be sold for a surplus and start, upgrading some of these. And that's not counting like our shops, we don't have any pickups to spare where the guys that are running late, they gotta come assist them. They got their own vehicle. But we don't worry about stuff like that. It's just these pickups that are getting so old and so, costing money every year. So.
Yeah, no problem.
Were we going to ask a question or did we, and I just kind of missed it on the tire issue?
Oh, I just don't
Yeah.
think about it, I just,
See, on our tires, we do all of our tires in-house for the trucks, and that's a must. And we have a machine, our machine is getting old, but we had a new machine bought about 15 years ago. We're still using it, and that's our truck tires, that's all we, Tim and the guys, they change what we do. We're running, if we got it flat on the road, so we got a spare, that's one thing, but if we have, we keep spares. But we always do our own work there, except for the big ones that we don't balance them, we take them down and get them balanced. And we do get the front ones mounted most of the time, we mount the front ones too, but we have to have them balanced down there. But we don't do the big tires for the blades or any heavy equipment, that all has to be done by Twin Valley, so.
so if you gotta take it down and get it balanced, you gotta do alignments now, why wouldn't you just have them all the?
We haven't done alignments necessarily just all down there, but yeah, we do have alignments,
Yeah, but I'm just saying, so why wouldn't you have to change tires down there as well, I mean?
we just been doing it all in-house, cause it saves us money, it costs, every time they do it, it costs, $50 to do the, just to do the balance, so it adds up.
Yeah, but you're taking there to get it balanced anyhow, you're saying.
We do that just to balance, we do the tire and the work ourselves.
But if we have to build a $30,000 addition onto the building and heat it,
Yeah,
is it cheaper to pay the $50 a time to have put the tire on than to build a, an additional bay for?
yeah,
I'm
right
just asking a
now,
question.
right now, right now in that old building, yeah, we're spending a lot to keep it heated, 'cause it's-
Well, yeah, but assuming we're
Yeah.
moving forward and,
and it takes up a lot of room, man, we got a lot of tires, at least the one thing about having cold tires in a place where you got them on hand, but it's another, when you're fixing it and have to have a place for a truck to sit in. So yeah, we'd have to weigh that out now, if we took everything there, we'd be relying on them, if we didn't have a tire, we need to fix one, we can't always rely on them to be able to go and do it right away,
well, I think again, if we went forward, not necessarily, I'm just throwing out a what ifs, if we went forward, I'm sure we get some kind of agreement with you. These are the kind of tires we need, you need to keep some on stock for us.
What
When
you-
you come in, we need to jump on, you need to jump on the way we need to get a priority. And they seem to be reasonable people, if we throw in a business their way, I'm sure. that
Yeah, we've had no problems, they get on everything we do, so.
I'm just saying, if we can eliminate having to build a whatever size heated building you need to do the tire business.
In about the same size building that we're heating is just about the same size you need for tires. We got two different area, the tires right now. Counting all the tires that we have.
But see, then we wouldn't have to store the tires, we could get Dennis to store the tires for us.
We wouldn't have to heat it,
You wouldn't have to eat
because
it.
it wouldn't be there.
Yeah, so I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it just doesn't be a long process to get to where we need to be, but it's something to think about, is all it is.
Because we'd always have to have a place for our tires so we can put flats on. Every day you do a flat, we gotta have, to switch them on. But all the new tires,
See what we're gonna put the building first.
yes, keep those on it. But then the only thing is too, then we buy each one, or we send 5 recaps, now we got 5 more of them to keep on hand. And if we didn't have a place, we would keep our recaps. It'd be kind of a pain, I guess, to have.
Well,
Well, it works out.
you gotta, just that way the cost of adding that chunk of building on, heated building on to, the cost of doing business exclusively.
Yep,
Valley Tire and see which one makes most sense, I guess.
exactly, yeah, we can look at that, so.
Because you say your tire changing equipment's 15 years old, how long do we have to buy a new one, and how much does it cost,
Yeah, well, they're up there. Quite a few, few thousand, I don't know what it costs them. Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate it, thank you.
I want you to have Anne relook at his bill. There's 5 charges on there, and 3 are paid, so there should be only $111 charge, not 36. But maybe I'm reading.
They had more of a list.
Oh, we get stuck on some stuff, so.
Yeah. That's supposed to, executive stuff.
And I'm going to use red, but. So
You
these
got
are
111 up here.
the back is 256. Alright. Is the sheriff here yet, or?
You've been here 10 hours, you said.
Oh, I'm tired of hearing about that.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing today? Doing good. Good.
I got that about 40 and
Oh, good.
border crossing if you want to sign those.
Okay. I figure out where it got lost in the shuffle.
She said that she never received it in the mail. But they've had other issues, so. Down there. But I mailed it in December.
So, did you hear back from that Charles regarding his property over there?
No, I haven't heard anything more.
I went out there and looked at it. I don't know what his, I don't understand what his complaint is. I talked to one of his neighbors and the guy that plows the snow and all that. They're both kind of under the impression that he is upset that he didn't get the land.
Dennis, this is the guy who called in to your zoning the other day. He called me the other day, and I mean, I was on the phone for a half hour with him listening. And then he said, well, he's gonna contact the sheriff, so I made sure that Tyler knew.
And then I talked to Sherry about what was kind of, she was up here when we were talking about it, so her and I visited about it, and she showed me it on the Google Maps, South Dakota Maps. So I went out there and I talked to the neighbor, and the neighbor's like, because he was complaining about his signs getting stolen. And he thinks it's the guy that's putting up those garages. Well, I talked to the neighbor, and the neighbor's like, he's not the kind of guy that would steal those signs. He goes, we got so much traffic up and down this road because the wharf is right down below there. He goes, we have a ton of traffic. There were kids up here that were hunting. Because I'm not saying it was the kids that stole them, but because we have so much traffic up here, it could be anybody. And then the guy that was plowing the snow, he said, yeah, Charles called me and said that they were complaining about this hole with all the trash in it. Went out there and the one picture had like those 2 big mounds of dirt. That's not even a hole out there, that's just dirt left over when they tore out a bunch of those trees. And then the hole that he was talking about that he had those posts around, it was filled with snow. The only thing I could find in there from second it was a 5-gallon pail of cheap rock. So I don't know what his real complaint was, but according to the neighbor, they kind of have the impression he's just mad that they got that land and now trees out and he of course doesn't like that. So,
Okay.
that's all I found out there, and nothing criminal was going on.
Okay. I like to talk.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Is everybody, are we ready to go, or do we have to?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just wait for her to come back, alright. No, keep going, alright.
It's on, yeah.
Total inmates are at 49. We've got one marshal leaving us and 2 more coming in today, so that'll change a little bit. The traffic coming into the jail seemed to kind of be picking up a little bit now that the weather's gonna be changing and getting a little bit nicer. Current staff out at the jail on the correction side, we officially have lost 3 now. 3 correctional officers. One of them, 2 of them left to go to Watertown. That's where they were living. They're looking at employment a little bit closer. I'm sure the drive isn't easy doing every day. The other ones we lost, Benji Thompson. He is starting school back in person. So that was his reason. That was his reason for leaving. He was on the night shift, and he's going back to in-person learning. So we had the jail administrator from Brookings come out and take a look at the jail last week. He seemed to be pretty impressed by a lot of the things that we had in place and a lot of the ways that our jail was set up. There are a few things like the property bags that we just got in and started to use. He saw those and he got all the specs for those because he thought those were a really nice bag and something that they were gonna probably move to because they were running the same problems that we had with ours. So it's kind of a nice little aside to that. The check for our damaged vehicle is in the mail. It sounds like it's for $8,730 approximately. That was 87 and some change, with $1,000 deductible.
It has been taken into account, could that be subtracted from?
I think that would be, that's gonna be on top of that. That's my impression.
So our net is 77?
Yeah. I visited with the highway patrol, the sergeant who's in charge of the surplus vehicles out there. He highly recommended I just come out, test drive some vehicles and see what they have that would fit us. He said the majority of the vehicles that are there are gonna be SUVs because now they're saving a lot of the Chargers for their EBOC courses for the academy. Because the highway patrol has found that they can save money by using those old patrol cars versus trying to fix those old Crown Victorias that they've been fixing over and over again for the last how many years. So they don't have any cars, which is kind of unfortunate because I thought that would be a little bit cheaper way to go. But he said that between about $4,000 and $6,000 for those vehicles at about 120,000 miles. So right around 2015s is what they are. And according to him, they were not used for, patrol use. These are vehicles that were either used by, the upper command staff, so they're more just, you know, driving here to here miles.
It's a lot of coffee and donut stands.
Yep.
Do they got the cages in here?
He said some do, some don't. So he said some of them will have them, and some of them won't. It sounded like majority of the vehicles that they had there were Tahoes. So that would be the one thing, if the vehicle that is the better vehicle doesn't have a cage, you know, he said anything that has equipment in it, he goes, the price that's on it is the price with everything in it. We're not taking anything out. So
You have to appear to look at these?
yeah. So, and I kind of asked him, I said, would this be something that I'd be able to get done in a day? If I got up there, found a vehicle, we wanted it, could we cut the check and walk home with it? He goes, it probably wouldn't happen in a day unless you got here real early. So my thought is we're gonna be going down there in the next couple weeks anyway to pick up that pickup when that bumper gets replaced. So if I can get down there, either the end of this week or the beginning of next week, check out one of those vehicles, and then they could get it in the processing stage, and then when we go back down there, we have to make one trip.
We still need a ride to a ride.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we could ride along and pick that one up in bigger.
Okay, well, if I decide to go down there,
You're gonna need to take somebody to bring the new vehicle home too, so you're gonna need.
Well, but if I'm going down there to look at the vehicle in Pier to check out these patrol vehicles, I can take somebody down there,
So you're gonna say you're gonna have to take somebody to drive the police vehicle back, and then
You buy
somebody,
one.
and somebody.
Yeah, we have to take two.
We'll have to have 3
But he
people.
doesn't think they can do it in one day.
Yeah, they're not gonna be
No,
able
you
to,
could, but you're gonna have, you could drop somebody off in the night and bring the car home that same day.
Yeah, we can do that.
so I'll just, so you guys have a car there waiting to get picked up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll maybe look at getting something scheduled with him, probably, I don't know what would work better, end of this week, beginning of next.
Well, if we could go on a Thursday or a Friday,
Yeah.
you're-
I think I'm still open.
Thursday would probably work better for me than Friday.
I can make Thursday work at this point,
Okay.
yeah. Should I plug it in, or is this a possibility, or?
Yeah, why don't you plug it in, and I'll get things arranged over to Jill to make sure that things are covered.
No, this is predicated on what time you take off in the morning.
Usually 5:30.
No, what works for you? I'm
I can go earlier, I don't wanna get.
Well, I can-
4 o'clock in the morning.
I can- I can probably swing by and pick you up, just before 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
That works, if you can get out there and you're done.
Okay, so put in 8 AM, my son changes.
So that'll be Thursday, so then Don, you
You need to give me some money,
you
right?
need to check.
One that doesn't bounce.
So Tyler, are you picking Donna?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, I don't get to be difference to me.
If you're gonna need a ride home, I mean,
Yeah, you'll have to,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll meet you
I
here.
just meet you up here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll meet you
Okay,
here,
well,
Nate.
Tyler, I'll cut you a check, I'll cut a check tomorrow and then give it to you, so. that-
Yeah, and then I'll just come up here and meet you.
Yeah,
Okay.
because if you guys are leaving, shortly before,
Sounds good.
or I can make sure I'm here too.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that, Tom.
Yeah.
All right, I'll call him today and then we'll be up there on Thursday. He was gonna be sending me some pictures today of some of the vehicles.
Do you let that David know too, we're picking up on Thursday, or?
What'd you say, yes, right in the back seat though?
Yeah, you guys right in the cage.
I'm used to it. You're gonna get my hand in front of me instead of behind me, damn it.
That'd be a long drive.
Was you out there tonight about 10:30 or 11 o'clock or so?
It's gonna be already bigger.
About 3, yeah.
Get some breadcrumbs so I can find my way home.
Yeah,
We'll do the directions.
Who's your follower?
I can do that.
Maybe somebody else wants to go with you. Another commissioner.
My plate's full.
Maybe somebody from the auditor's office could deliver the check.
We got plenty of things to do.
I spoke with the mayor and the city finance officer about the invoices that they were going to receive, and they were fine with that.
You okay?
You know, we kind of, between the three of us, kind of agreed that we'll get one more city on board, with paying for the dispatching fees, and then we'll get that contract taken care of. And one
Amber
of the,
has the bills for January and February
Yeah.
that she'll present next month.
and, I think part of the reason for that is they hadn't even brought this up to the rest of the board yet, so, I would imagine once they get those, once they look at those invoices and stuff, plus, I talked to them about the check that we are receiving from New Effington. It's in the mail. I had it just addressed to the check addressed to the Roberts County Sheriff's Office. And then I'll put it on what it was allocated for.
So did you send another check for March first, or another bill for March first for, they could present it at the same time, or like, cause we won't get this contract put together before then, so
Right, no.
that's next week, so I wanna
I could, yep,
fire off another one, they can mail it to you.
yep, I could get that down to
Can you
you.
clarify something? Did you say the council was not even aware of this?
I shouldn't say that they're not aware. It isn't something that was brought up during meetings. They visited about they're aware that the mayor and the chief of police were up here and talked about it. But it hasn't been something that was presented to the board for them to vote on.
Okay.
When I spoke with the city finance officer in New Effington, this is just more of something for you to be aware of. She asked for a contract proposal. They are trying to look at contracting law enforcement there. So it's not something that's probably gonna get to her by in the next 2 weeks, in time for their next meeting. It's something they'll probably have to move to their April meeting. But she wants, it sounds like their city council is kind of pushing for something like that there. I just need to work with them on what their expectations of that would be, and based on the patrol staff that we have now, how it would work with just 4. Because there's no way right now with the 4 guys that we have now that I can say for sure, hey, we can spend 10 hours a week just there.
So I think the point you made, Tom, that last time we talked about it was now it was sounded so that if we had to hire a new deputy, he was gonna do some work in Wilmot and I think that there's still some time left over for us, so we can minimize some of our overtime, and that's still your kind of attention to
That's-
stuff like that.
Yeah, the other thing that I was looking at is with some of the grants coming out, I'm looking at some of that grant stuff to see how that could cover some of that. So that it not only potentially reduces the cost on the municipality, but also, we can look at how we can also have some of that time as well.
You're talking about the cost grant?
Yeah, either cost grant or I was thinking even a highway safety grant that was allocated towards that one officer. The one that we're doing now, when they put in the time, the officers just look at it as, hey, we all split the time, evenly between us. But realistically, in some departments, they say, all right, well, with this amount of money, we're gonna hire you to just do highway safety. And you're just a highway safety officer. Yes, if you get a call and you're needed and you're in the area, you're gonna go and cover it, but you just a highway safety officer, that is your job. So,
That COPS grant, and we've applied for that in the past, but we didn't get alerted to it last year. And they awarded, what, 2 COP grants in Coddington and one other town around here.
three in Watertown and 1 or 2 in Coddington.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, we missed out on that, but we work with First District, I don't know if you're aware of those folks, Watertown, if they consult with us. They would be the ones that could help you write that grant, request for that, and, I assume we wanna be part of that, right? Cause it's what, we pay for 2 years, we have to commit to the 3rd year.
Everyone's different. Sometimes they're 75, they'll do 75 and do 25 and then 50 and 50 and then 25 and 75. And it just depends on what it's for. And that was really what's kind of behind my idea of trying to get with the schools and get an officer to spend and allocate some time into the school, because that is one of the best ways to be eligible for those grants. Because if you put somebody inside the school, you're gonna be much more eligible to receive some of that grant funding. And you're gonna move to a lot higher spot on the list than if you just say, yeah, it's just for a new patrol officer.
I mean, you could give them the number for First District, you can call, and they supposed to start with Todd, and he'll be directed at whichever one, I guess, is.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they kind of forgot to remind us last year, it seemed last year that whoever awarded those grants were pretty generous in this area, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with grants this year, with the change in the administration. You know, but then you have places like Minneapolis that are now advocating, putting $6 million back into their police force because everybody left.
Really? They did that well.
Yes. 66.4 million, I think, is what they're
Yeah.
looking at. They took away 8, and now they're looking at putting 6.4 back in. But they'll be
Chant to defund the police kind of
Yeah.
didn't work out, so.
You couldn't have called it anything worse.
they're gonna really be struggling, because a lot of the officers that I know that are in those areas, they're not coming back. They're gonna really.
Just retire, you think, or just don't
A
want
lot
to?
of them took early retirement. A lot of them moved out of the area. So,
Can't blame them for that.
I have the Corona meeting set up with their city council. That'll be it'll end up being the second Monday of March. Because the first one ended on Monday. I need to ask for approval to attend the Sheriff's Association meeting, which is in April 20th through the 22nd. The cost of going to the training is $115 for the 3 days, not counting lodging. I opted for the cheaper hotel versus the lodging hotel where it was being held. It would save me about $50 a night. So,
Where's it at?
Deadwood, at the lodge.
Oh my God. Maybe you could do some investigating on how they were able to get all the state conventions,
Yeah.
except the commissioners. Motion by Zeppel to approve the expenses, is there a second by
Second.
Commissioner Miguel? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion
So you've
carries.
already got your motel booked?
I have the motel booked. Yep.
Will they bill us, or did you give them the credit card?
I gave him the credit card, but I told him that credit card would actually be expiring.
Yeah.
And they were fine with that. They said that they could invoice it if they needed to.
Oh, they can't do it, okay, that'd be great.
There is, we did receive, another staffing grant through the 24/7 program for Chandra Lesner's position of $10,000.
Good work there.
Yeah.
And that check's already came up here. And then I did get there is a 24/7 program training on July 14th and 15th, so it's a one-night stay out in Chamberlain for Debbie. So, I don't know if we can do approve it one night.
You wanna do it this early, or you wanna wait until it's a little closer, or how do you wanna handle it? So we can do it.
If we do it now, I can let her know that she can get herself signed up for it, so she's gonna try to.
Motion to approve by Carlson, is there a second? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Alright, motion carries.
The only other thing that I thought I'd maybe bring up is, I talked to you about Cody Wellness, leaving for a year. I did talk with Curtis, and he kind of indicated that he would be fine maybe working on kind of a part-time as needed basis for us. So this is gonna be kind of a fluid situation until it's all happens. One of the things I wanted to ask is if we were looking at somebody to be out there just covering the more janitorial side of the facility, if it would be worth looking at Doug, is he doing part-time here at the?
No, he's full-time.
He is, okay, so maybe that would work.
And you might wanna let him go, but she would, so.
He doesn't wanna go.
No, I'm just kidding. I know you guys love up here, you don't wanna go anyplace.
He loves us.
Okay, that's not what he told me. Just saying.
That was just something that kind of came to mind. I didn't know if he was full-time here or part-time. So we might at some point be looking for somebody to kind of come on. You know, we might look at it being a jailer that can do, part-time in our jail and part-time doing the janitorial stuff. It's emptying the garbage cans and vacuuming and mopping. That's the primary role.
So we can't get prisoners enough to do that internally?
Well, and the one problem with that is a lot of the areas that they need to go are off limits to them. They're locked inside a little deeper. We do have a couple that are doing some work. I got some painting done out there the other day. They did a good job with that. Kind of cleaned a few areas up, and we're just kind of trying to put a honey-do list together and get some things done out there to get it kind of cleaned up and straightened up. So. But then as far as our correctional staff, we're looking, like I said, we're losing 3, so we are looking for, I think James would like 2 females and 2 males in a perfect world. So, that is that.
Is the closed circuit TV up and running?
I got the room carpeted. The room's carpeted, and our acoustic tiles are up in there. There was no court today, so our first go is gonna be this coming Tuesday. So yeah, the judge is excited to start using it because it'll make things a little bit easier. It'll make things easier for the community. They're coming in for their court because they don't have to sit and wait for the in custodies. So yeah, the room's up and ready to go. We're gonna try to do a trial run with the clerks sometime either this week or on Monday, just to make sure that it's all set and ready to go. And then we're gonna give it the old college try and use it. So finally, that equipment will be put to use. So.
The judge for a long while, we tried to implement it some while back, and he was pretty opposed to it.
Is it Flemmer?
Flemmer in the circuit court is not a big fan of it.
Yeah, he was our stumbling block last
But a lot of the other judges, and especially because of the last year, they've just gotten so used to using it. For Judge Magera, he can sit right in Aberdeen and do all the court that he needs to do there, and never has to come here. It saves him time. He can do twice as much and make the workload on it easier. So, and the other thing is, like I kind of mentioned last week, is it'll make it a lot easier on all the other places that use our facility. 'Cause if they've got court, they don't have to send a deputy down here, run them back. We can just walk them on in there with our jailer and have court and put them right back where they need to go. So, saves everybody time and energy. All right. Yeah.
We saw a bill come through today for CPR,
Baby,
Good way.
baby,
Training, CPR.
Training.
CPR training.
Is it possible, and we had to pay an outside facility, is it possible our nurse can do that?
She is. She's in the process of getting certified right now.
Great.
She actually, she came to me a week ago and asked for my approval for her to get, I think it was like $150 worth to get herself certified.
Yep.
She was gonna get herself certified and then she'll take over all of our CPR.
Great, perfect.
She's working out real well in that position.
Yeah, yeah, it saved us a lot of incidents that are minor, that if something didn't get paid attention to, and she advocates for the inmates to make sure that they're getting to their doctor's appointments and stuff, so, which is important in the jail facility, because if they have just as many rights to be able to see a doctor and their appointments as anybody else, so.
Yeah.
You have to accommodate that. She's doing a really good job. She's able to work with the doctors and stuff to make sure that they're, prescribing the right kinds of medications for what she's seen when they're in the facility too. So.
Well, let's see, we'll be taking a squad car up to Oneida, and if so, can I drive? He got to drive all the way up to Black Hills.
All
You think I'm joking? I'm on red lights. We'll see what I can do. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This goes for lunch pretty soon.
You see the last thing that we have to do today on the
Yes.
page below?
Yes.
One, I'm just coming in to ask if I could move ahead and, look for grant money to get an AED for the courthouse. Got some paperwork here, whatever, I didn't spend a lot of time looking, you just didn't want your blessing to maybe move ahead first to see if we could find some grant money to purchase an AED and then a wall mount box to put it in. And then maybe some online training if we get back to that point.
Do you know how to, I mean, download, do you know how to?
I've known before.
That'd be great, yeah.
Where would you house it? Your office center?
There's boxes that you can have that are alarmed and they would open up, but an alarm would go off to prevent anybody from stealing it.
Sure.
And then it's keyed just to turn the alarm off, so when you open the door, to check the batteries and whatever, so, I would think out in the rotunda or whatever would be a good place, not in really any one office, it would just someplace visible.
Oh, no.
That anybody would have access to it at any time. Just ranging, it can range anywhere from $1,500 to $3,500 for the package,
Didn't you buy some up at the Legion here a few years back, and they were
Yeah,
$1,500 range?
About 2 years ago, yeah. And it was about $1,500, of which Community Foundation gave us $500,
Yeah.
and then we raised funds for the rest. And we got it in the box too, so that it can't be stolen,
It's not a long box.
And that company gave if you're gave us a deal because we were a nonprofit and so forth, so it was cheaper.
Who did you get funds from?
Community Foundation.
Yeah,
Yes,
was it 500?
Yes.
I don't remember the amount, but I mean, if there is some cost sharing that's required on a grant program, the foundation would be a pretty good source for that, yeah.
What's your official title, South Dakota, are you under
Well,
South Dakota?
the local one is the Sisseton Area Community Foundation,
Okay,
but we partner with South Dakota Community Foundation that manages funds for a whole bunch of community foundations across the state.
I would also talk to Janessa, because I don't know why in the back of my mind, or if it was Barry or somebody mentioning, you know, them getting something out to the jail.
They're ready.
Talk to Janessa.
You know, the firehouse subs or whatever place used to donate money for different things.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's.
And then if you come up short, you know, there's always other local organizations, like, you know, DFW Legion, maybe would, you know, put in money.
All right,
Kiwanis would be approachable. If you can find a big enough money for you, maybe you should think about one for the park meetings here, just a shot. If you can find the funds, we'll do 2 of them for the day.
yeah,
But I think if you have one in the building, that should be sufficient.
Would be sufficient.
there's signage that you can buy and whatever, you know, letting people know that there is one on the premise or whatever, so.
Sure.
If we didn't have it, just kind of centrally located, I mean, if we were able to get one at some point, that would be.
Do they have to be plugged into something or no battery operated?
Battery operated, they're just, they're pretty simple nowadays, you just basically, it's a visual, there's a green check mark on in a box or a circle that says if the battery's good. When the batteries go bad, there's just an X in there and you know, anybody pretty much can, I mean, they're voice prompted, so it tells you, turn the machine on, you know, put the patches here, you know, shock or no shock, and type of deal. There's online training that comes with some of them, and then, I'd also look into just, you know, like, not everybody that's having a heart attack or whatever is shockable. There's different rhythms that it won't shock or whatever, where you have to do CPR. And I noticed that there is some online CPR training or whatever that, you know, would be beneficial to anybody that would be interested in doing it. I don't think it would be probably not a mandatory thing to have everybody do it, because you can have folks that are just not gonna do it anyway. So anybody that would be interested, maybe to move ahead with some manual or online training for that CPR, besides this.
That'd be a good idea too.
So,
I think if you get a needle shock, you're supposed to have your chest shaved too. Won't go through a hairy chest, will
yeah,
it?
well, yeah.
It will.
The patches, if it's sweaty, if you're sweaty or whatever, then the patches won't stick the best, but.
Well, now you still get your taser, don't you?
Yeah, that works.
You can light them up. So the way
Then
you
you
close
miss
it.
Yeah. So, that's all right, I'll keep looking.
You got it.
Okay.
I guess even if we couldn't find all the funding, that's something we could certainly afford to pay for.
Right out on your side.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal.
Good idea.
Very well, I'll keep looking and hopefully have some for next week for you.
Right.
Do we want to tell him about the situation with the COVID thing here?
Be my guest.
Or just to say we found out that, maybe I should. Tell you later.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, we just asked him this,
Yep.
the building, so.
Because the South Dakota Department of Health website recommends if you've been in close contact, you have to quarantine for 10 days. And we've already, as a commissioner, addressed this with a department previously where they had to the whole department to go home.
Next week we should be fine.
Yeah.
Alright.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you guys again.
I wanted to get our point of view on record.
I'm just being consistent.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll pay the bills.
Yeah.
Motion by Michael.
I don't wanna make a habit of it.
Yeah. Is there a second? Tom, thanks. Thanks, Tom. Any discussion on the bills? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great, thank you. Is there a second to that one? Tom, thank you. In favor of that one, signify by saying aye. Good night, thank you.
You tell us.
How are we handling
We have to
this?
call them now and.
Yeah, I might have Dan's number, maybe. Are you talking about?
Courier.
Oh, the courier, okay. Yes.
Next week, same time, same place.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Dennis.
Yeah.
You?
Thank you.
Every time. Every time we pull the courier, it just pulls the credit union.
See you guys next week.
Okay.
Have a good week. Good night.
You too.
Yeah, Jen, this is now over at the courthouse. We're all done with our meeting if you wanna turn the camera on. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
You too. And we were saying the other week that when you were subbing over at the grade school there, that some of those kids were pretty wild. Or the middle school, what grades are those?
Fourth and, fifth grade is now attached to the high school.
Okay, oh,
But when it was at West Side,
okay.
fourth and fifth were both rambunctious.
Rambunctious or Vienna rambunctious?
Yeah, some
I hate to wait until someone is considering transferring their kids from Round Valley to there, and I just heard other people say it's,
Not at a young age, I wouldn't.
yeah, that's what I heard too, so. But I knew he had some personal experience, and so I just,
Even in junior high, 6, 7, and 8.
pretty rolled up pretty quick.
When they hit freshmen, you know, a lot of that is, it's like night and day when they get in their freshman year. I was really amazed at the maturity of the
Really?
kids at that point, yeah. There is still a little distraction that goes on there, but, yeah, not nearly as bad as 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah, it's from a little bit lower level like grade schools. But, yeah, I just heard some other people say, even nothing wrong with Brown Valley. It's just like that they're probably closer to assistant school than Brown Valley, where they think about moving.
There's a ton of what you call opportunities with different clubs and things that they have, and of course the sporting events. But,
Yeah.
that's good school. Tracy Lurkey, who was the extension agent, has a class over there. It's got a long acronym there, FAL, FBAALA or something like that. And they do some different kinds of things that they have in
Yeah.
typical school system.
Okay.
And then there's Prenner Gas with their oral intern, my kids have been through oral intern. It just really rounds out the kids for public speaking, and that's what it's about. The one act plays kind of thing.
Mhm.
I mean, they do have opportunities. They're an art teacher, I know her really well, she's very accomplished, so some of the artwork that I've seen the kids do, and it's not just painting, it's ceramics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there's really some good things that go on there, yeah.
Pass that on.
Yeah. All right, okay, thanks, Don, thank you.
This live stream is brought to you by Dakota Pond and Thrift for all your pond needs, Countryside Inn Assisted Living and Memory Care in Rossalt, where your family is our family, First Savings Bank of Sisseton. Use our online banking to save you time. Stilson Service in Sisseton with Marathon Fuels. Tri-State Water in Sisseton for all your water needs, water softeners and reverse osmosis right here in Sisseton. And of course, the Sisseton Courier, where we do more than the weekly newspaper. Thanks for watching and have a great day.